My name is Amanda Holt, and today I am going to go over my instructional plan for course Educational Procedures for Individuals with Moderate to Profound Disabilities. The objective for the lesson is students will be able to cite evidence to analyze text features and structures. So, for this particular lesson, we will begin reading a text titled Fears and Phobias. In this particular text, we will be paying attention to the structure. And the structure of this particular text is sequential, and it has several text features such as headings, subheadings, sidebars, pictures, and we will be discussing those details as we progress through this lesson. So, first, we will introduce the vocab for the lesson, and students will help to construct a definition to keep in their interactive notebooks. Then, once we have identified the academic vocabulary that we're going to use for this particular lesson, we will then move on to our directed reading graphic organizer. And what we will do with this sheet is first we will open our textbooks to the text. We will just briefly look at the different headings, the different titles, subheadings, the pictures, and we will complete this form. So the students will be making predictions about what they believe this text will be about, what they think they can learn, what they think they already know. Now, as an extra scaffold for those students who struggling maybe with motor functions or even or spatial processing, this form will be somewhat completed. Like we will have sentence stems, so they just have to roughly fill in some blanks, or we will actually have direct questions that they will be able to answer. And this, of course, there is no length requirement, so it can be as much or as little as you choose depending on your student. So as we go through and we're reading the text and we get to the different sections, we will stop and I will ask questions and the students will answer the questions either orally to the small group, or I will have them work with a partner. Now, in either instance, as the students are talking, I or the special education teacher who is in my room will go around and we will listen to their conversations so that we can record how they are performing with processing the information that they are learning. So the data will be collected on this formative assessment data collection worksheet. And as you can see, it has headings here that you can fill in for the different items that you will be observing. And then over here is where you would put the student names. So for example, in the first column, we are going to assess if the students are able to make an inference. And in the very first portion of the text, the students have to infer what it would be like to ride on a roller coaster based on the symptoms and the signs that are presented in the text. As they are talking with their shoulder partner, we will listen and we will rate their conversation. Now, the things that we will be looking for are they using the vocabulary words? Are they actually making an inference where they're taking what they know and combining it with evidence that they are finding in the text? And the rating scale is fairly easy. 4 for advanced, 3 for proficient, 2 for developing, and 1 for beginning. And what's good about this sheet, as I'm monitoring and walking around the room, it lets me know when we get to the more difficult tasks, which students that I will have to work more closely with to ensure that they are able to access the content. Now, as we progress, we will go through and for this particular lesson, we will only read the first 3 sections of this text. And after each section or after each heading or subheading, there will be questions that will be asked and answered, and the students will add those details to their directed reading form, and hopefully by the end of the lesson, they will have cleared up some misconceptions that they might have had at the beginning. Now, to close the lesson, we will be using a choice exit ticket. And I particularly like this style of exit ticket because it allows the student to choose how they want to relate to the teacher that they have grasped the day's information. And on this particular exit ticket, the student can choose from 5 choices. They can either create a bulleted list of ideas, they can write a summary, they can draw a picture of what they've learned, they can make a connection where they describe like relationships, or they can argue why this information is important to know about. And with this information, this will determine, of course, for the next day what might need to be retaught, which students might need to be pulled aside separately for some remediation, in which students have possibly excelled and might need to have some extension activity to further their learning. Now, in this particular lesson, the goal is that the students will recognize the text structure and what all of the features are for. And as they learn the text structure and why things are structured the way that they are, and that is for a specific purpose, the hope is that not only will it allow them to comprehend the information more easily when they encounter this sort of text structure again, but also eventually I would like for them to mimic this in their own writing. So this is not just a one and done deal. They will, of course, throughout the year have opportunities to work with different text structures, and then they will also have different opportunities to write for on different topics, and it will be another strategy that they could put in their toolbox to use now and in the future when it comes to, again, not only the comprehension part of the lesson but also the reading. And that is the end of the lesson.